All right. Well, welcome back to the coffee show with Kirk Pearson, everyone. I am your host, Kirk Pearson. And it should be noted that the first ever podcast that I ever recorded was actually with you guys, but for some reason I never published it. Do you remember that? The downstairs basement of St. Ali back in the day.
I remember when you turned up with your equipment.
And it was fresh.
It was fresh.
We had a hi-fi store just on the end of the street, which is clearly where you got all your stuff.
Yes. Yeah, and
You really researched it.
he was a regular customer at St. Ali and gave me a big time discount on all my stuff. So, those are good times. But I'll give everyone a little preamble. So we are in a music recording studio in the regional town of Castlemaine in Australia. And this is where Jeremy Challender. This is where Jeremy Challender of Barista Hustle lives, and so we did a little excursion
and rehearses actually.
So we're in the music studio, and we just did a little experiment. I guess would you say it's an experiment?
A tasting,
blind tasting. And so a big part of what we're talking about today is pre-made espresso versus freshly made espresso for milk drinks. So at my cafe, Project Zero Coffee, every day, towards the end of the day, we pack up the grinders and things like that. And towards the end of the day, so we don't dirty things up, we squeeze pre-made espresso into a cup and then milk on top of it to make all of our lattes, flat whites, if you will. And not one person has ever detected any difference. Not one person has ever noticed any change. And Matt and I have been working on this for quite some time. And we just did a little experiment where we tried to guess what was pre-made and what was freshly made by Lloyd Meadows of Tortoise Espresso. And I think more often than not, we all preferred the pre-made espresso.
I wouldn't go that far.
Well, on average, we selected our favorite as being the pre-made.
On average.
It was absolutely not worse.
Yeah.
And completely retailable.
And it was quite difficult to tell what was freshly made and pre-made.
Yeah.
Not really.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I think I picked every single cup right in terms of pre-made or freshly made. But that's not what's important. What's important is, was it worse? And it wasn't that much worse or better. They were quite closely in terms of quality. I think they were quite close.
Yeah.
You had a marker though, right? You were sort of using crema, the presence of crema.
Lloyd is such a good barista that we actually visually couldn't tell the difference between espresso that was a day old and espresso that was fresh.
No, but the taste.
But the taste, it was. I think it was quite obvious that there was a harsh, fresh, kind of like CO2 bitterness to the fresh espressos from the fresh crema, and that was just quite obvious.
Yeah.
I
wondered if the pre-mades were milder.
Yeah, they were milder and softer and smoother and more gentle.
Yeah.
Whereas the worst parts of the fresh coffees were worse. So it was like I feel like they were more variable, more harsh, more intense. Yeah. And if that's what you're looking for, then cool. But if you want smoother, softer drinks, then the pre-made is perfectly acceptable.
Yeah, and it really is. And to a lot of coffee professionals, I've given it to them without even telling them what happened, what I've done to it, and they've really enjoyed the coffee. They'll say gushingly, "Oh, this is great," and then you tell them after, and they're like, that it was pre-made, and they're like, "Really?" So,
and in your case, not just pre-made that morning sometimes, right?
The day before,
or even older sometimes, right?
Yeah, I've had it up to a week old, and we kept some for up to a month. And it does alter after a month. It does taste quite a bit different, but like it's not bad. Safety wise.
How would you describe the taste of month-old espresso?
It just kind of had, I don't know, it tasted a bit gingery. Like it had this like gingerbread kind of flavor to it by the end of it. So I mean.
And did you notice any more bitterness?
I wouldn't say bitterness. It just tasted like slightly more gingerbready. Strangely enough.
Like green-ish with the ginger.
Honestly, just like ginger.
Okay.
It just had this, I can't describe it as anything
approaching
more than
kombucha.
But surely after a month it's got a bit fermenty even in the...
Well, like I was kind of like, well, if I've got an upset stomach the next day,
Wait, what's your usual kombucha flavor that you pick?
I am like a raspberry kombucha guy.
Not a ginger kombucha kind of guy?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, my hypothesis is null. Anyway.
but I think this is a really...
Sorry, continue your thought. I know it's going to be important.
Well, I was about to say, I think this is a really interesting kind of fork in the road for coffee or specialty coffee, right? Because this is a perfectly tasty and acceptable way to drink a flat white, a milky, a coffee, whatever. But I think the battle will be PR and perception.
Yeah.
Because the way we do it at the shop is actually to make it manually on our La Marzocco linear PB using Malconic grinders. And so it's very tedious. And I've tried super automatic machines. I haven't got results that I'm really happy with yet. So I won't be able to do it at scale the way I do it currently. But it's really interesting because
we should hype it more in a way. Like, it is kind of an extraordinary discovery, because I think I came to the cupping quite biased against. I was ready,
prejudiced.
If I thought I got a more aromatic sense, that's what I was looking for, the more aromatic cup, and I wasn't really getting it apart from that cremeriness that you were talking about.
Yeah, just quickly, if you turn up to that cupping or that tasting not knowing that was what was being tested for, would you have chosen those cups?
No, I couldn't. I don't know if I'd do the cupping again and pick the same cups I chose too. So
no, what I mean is, if you didn't know that that's what we were A-Bing, would you pick the smoother cup instead of the more aromatically intensive cup?
There's every possibility.
Yeah, okay, interesting.
And knowing that there was going to be a little bit of difference in temperature, because we know that the best way to store, we ran this question past Dr. Anya Ryan about, is there an optimum way of storing espresso? And she just said, well, in chemistry, cooler is almost always better if you're trying to
preserve something,
slow down reactions and
whatever is
keep
happening,
aroma. Yeah. So, you're putting it in the fridge. It's in an opaque container. All points were leading towards a less aromatic cup, but whether it's the milk masking things so intensely or not, that wasn't a real marker. And there would be if you had group head taste, say, in the freshly made compared with the pre-batched, the group head taste would be way more of a noticeable taint and a detraction than the lack of aroma.
Shout out to Cometeer for just brewing coffee and freezing it.
Yeah.
They're doing a great job.
But is that another step? Go even further and make ice cubes of espresso.
Perhaps, but I think that it's really interesting, the application of this to the industry, right? Because the way this first came up for me was actually a staff member not being able to come to work, and then me thinking, oh my God, how am I going to get through the next day? This is a new business, so I don't want to have one day where service is impaired, right? And so what I did was call Matt Perger. And I said, look, I need to kind of come up with a way to get this done tomorrow, and I'm going to do that idea of pre-making espresso you and I have talked about. Do you want to come kind of have a look and observe while we do it? And he said, yes, I'll bring help, Liam Wilkie, and we'll assist you, but also we'll kind of,
run the test.
We'll run the test as well. And yeah, that day, absolutely no one could tell the difference. We were just doing our thing. And I've done it at the shop, me and my staff, every day since. And then there was a particular example where the Melbourne International Coffee Expo was on, and we decided to serve our most popular blend, strawberry cheesecake, and we made 3 liters of pre-made espresso, and we dispensed it from like a glass jug with like a speed pourer on it. And all you have to do is put 20 mils in, and then 40 mils for a large size. And
so you're dosing it volumetrically, not on a scale?
Do it on scale.
Oh, there's no crema, so
40 grams. 40 grams.
You could just shot glass it.
Yeah, well, we could.
Yeah,
but,
a little jigger.
Yeah, but where I'm going with this,
a test tube be more accurate, something narrower.
Yeah, but where I'm going with this is like the application in industry is really interesting, because in an industry where labor is your biggest cost, you can reduce your labor cost if you're doing it at scale. And also, it's a lot easier to have like a lot of variety. For example, if you want to have 4 different sizes, you don't have to have 4 different espresso recipes. You just pour more liquid in if the size is bigger.
Or a week.
Yeah, or a week. You can just pour 10 mils in, so there's a lot less waste and there's a lot less labor required. And there's more variety for customers.
There's also more consistency cup to cup,
say that.
and less variance in terms of, all of your worst extractions will be blended into the average.
Yeah.
So that maybe they'll
the
drag.
channeled shot is blended with the rest.
They'll get blended in, but at least you won't have one horrifically bad coffee that you didn't notice that then one customer will have inevitably and then never come back or give you a bad review.
I should give a bit of credit to Chris Mabry from Beta Espresso in Sydney as well, because he and I have been sort of discussing this for about 2 years. I've implemented it at my shop, and then he's opened his shop recently. He's doing it as well. So he's definitely involved in this space.
Yep.
But what do you kind of see the future of this being, starting with you, Matt?
Well, I mean, we've got Cometeer. And at the other, I guess, at that end of the spectrum, we also had Sudden Coffee when Kalle Fries was making espresso in a factory and then freeze drying it. I believe Axel's doing similarly at the moment with their instant.
Make instant coffee, yeah.
Yeah, well, Sudden Coffee was instant. So that's obviously already happening, and there's various other instant companies that are doing things like that. So extracting coffee, getting the solubles out, and then getting, and then storing that somehow is already happening. We're just doing it at different. This is like the dried pasta, make it wet again, semi-dried pasta, fresh pasta, like make the wets dry, make the dries wet.
Also, it's a billion times nicer than instant though, isn't it?
If it's only a day.
You could it's almost like it could be a fresh product in the supermarket, which would taste heaps nicer than a spoonful of specialty instant.
I mean, there are coffee concentrates at the supermarket. Some of them are rubbish. So we've got this huge spectrum of ways to keep coffee longer, and this is just fitting into a certain spot on that spectrum. And until now, it is, I would still say it is verboten to have espresso, lasting more than a minute. And maybe it's not actually verboten.
History note, apparently in the American Civil War, that was when instant coffee was first tried to distribute to soldiers, and it was liquid form. Okay. And it was gross.
No doubt.
In order to go forwards, we needed to go backwards.
Don't know how they would have stored it. I bet it was just really potent, like really concentrated,
Slurry.
but not dried.
Yeah, like sludge.
Yeah. And it was probably shelf stable because it would have been so acidic.
But I think in terms of scalability, it's for me, for example, if I'm opening, say, for example, 5 coffee shops, all I need now is a production site to make most of my coffee. The savings of purchasing equipment like, grinders, you don't have to have multiple grinders for multiple stores. You just have a smaller espresso machine if you're making black coffee, because this cannot be done for like making espresso. The savings going forward, hypothetically, is actually enormous. So you're saving on labor and you're saving on machinery.
Jago as well.
Jago coffee?
Yeah, because
in Indonesia?
They're doing something pretty similar, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so they're brewing like a 3 or 4% concentrate at HQ, and then that goes on the bike, and
that's actually very respectable quality. So I was in Jakarta and I got to interview Yoshua Tanu, one of the founders of that, and tried the coffee, and it was actually really, really good.
Yep.
So to bring anyone up to speed, Jago Coffee is like I guess you call it a franchise business over in Indonesia, where basically they have carts in Jakarta, because carts is actually how most people get around, and serving food off carts is very popular over there. It's a big part of the Jakartan food economy, and it's incredibly mobile. And these drivers, Jaguans they call them, actually can see where customers are and get through traffic on these vehicles and kind of go and make coffee, and it's really, really effective. You can get a V60 on the side of the road too, which I got. So very, very fascinating.
Yeah, love that.
So Jem, now your turn. How do you see this applying, and what's its use in
the
future?
I don't know. I presume you guys are pulling pre-batching shots in the same way you would make them for a customer, right? Exactly the same recipe. You're just making loads in a row. Mm-hmm. So that you'd think the future is batch espresso brewing in a much more easy way, right? Mm-hmm. I know you guys are talking about prototyping
There's ways.
Should we discuss that?
No, I mean it's almost non-existent.
Because do you remember the Klaus Thompson photo I sent you from? He visited a coffee shop in Mexico.
Okay. Yeah, I do. Yes.
We can show your viewers some slides.
Jamie, pull that up.
It's a portafilter this big, saucepan size, handheld tamper, like a great big stamp with a big thing over here, and it's some pretty good close-ups. It's on Klaus Thompson's Flickr from about 2006.
Yeah,
and then you see a shot. Don't know if it's still there. I went looking. I couldn't find a shot, like a background shot, but My understanding is it's basically like a giant, big fitting, kind of like Moriondo's machine, which would apparently you could brew 30 cups on Moriondo's machine.
Yeah.
Not that any survive, but 1886 or 7 batch brewing, sort of pre-espresso machine, and then we don't know at what point espresso became just single serve, but the word espresso predates that. The use of the word espresso comes from about 1850-60 apparently, and it was being used to refer to a style of individually served coffee in cafes. There's a travel writer whose name I forget. He used it for the first time, like a café exprès, or I think he was using the French term, exprès pour vous, which meant like
for you.
Just for you. So possibly there is an X in espresso if you do it correctly.
Oh, Lord.
Jeez, I don't know. Have we got enough time for this?
Pandora's box. That
Let us know in the comments, folks.
But anyway, batch brewing espresso, if you could get it to nice high optimal extraction, I suspect if you just got S-Works, Sheldon would just crush this, to make a giant filter basket that could fit a kilo
deeper,
of coffee.
like much deeper rather than what, I mean.
You'd probably end up on a giantly coarse grind and you'd under extract.
The kilo worries me though, because you get the grind slightly wrong. You're stuffed. You just channeled.
Yeah.
You just
$100
clogged
wastage.
or channeled an entire kilo of coffee in one go. So there's definitely going to be a sweet spot of the batch brew size, maybe 150 grams. But current espresso machines aren't designed to dispense 150 grams of water at pressure, at temperature. So there needs to be a change in the equipment and how the machine works. And no one's going to be knocking out 150
A saturated group head would just cool down too much.
Yeah, you would need the body of water next to, in almost like a kettle sort of scenario, sitting right above the grinds, almost like a stovetop, I guess.
Flash heating, like the tone, would be the way. Like a constant flash heater in through the...
But you need a flow rate that's, if your dose is 5 times higher, you need a flow rate 5 times higher. And the energy requirements to heat that water instantly would be 5 times higher as well. So there are challenges with batch espresso.
Well, so we should pose a question for you. Like if you could only get 16-17% extraction yield, but you could do it all in one go, I'm assuming you're going to under extract on this level of batch unless you put too much water through.
Or it could crush it. It could be
You'd
great.
be surprised.
Could be great.
Most of flat whites that you get out and about are probably 16 and 17% extraction yield.
But if there was a drop off in extraction optimization, would you still go with it because of all the wonderful efficiencies?
Well, I think concentration is more important. Like if you're getting the flavor that you want, like having it at that concentration where it still tastes good, because you can, again, now you can adjust the volume that you're putting in. Like you're not just bound to an espresso shot and putting milk in it. If it's lower extraction yield and you can literally add more liquid on demand, then does it really matter?
You're losing money then.
Yeah.
Cogs are up.
But like, I mean, who's really going to settle for lower extraction in that scenario? Like, wouldn't you just adjust some of the parameters?
You'd want a batch espresso machine that could achieve 18 to 24%, somewhere in that range, and do it well.
But maybe there's so much thermal mass to that giant cake of coffee, it's just going to be so cool down the bottom of the bed. You know what I mean? Like,
Well, you just got to balance. You got to balance the width and the height, and we just got to figure it out. Gotta try
yeah, it might end up having to be the same thickness, just like the size of a pizza.
But surely,
sit on the AeroPress.
surely it's like very achievable. Like if you got
Of course it
if you
is.
got
Of
the
course
right
it is,
minds
yeah.
to build this, because I've tried making this off super automatic machines, and look, to date, I just still haven't got the results that I'm after. I certainly think it's possible. And I think there'll probably be newer versions of those super automatic machines in the future. But to date, I just haven't got the results that I've really been after.
Well, yeah, and if the machine was, like say the Eversys machine was making results that you were happy with, I think back when I was doing ambassador work for Eversys, the thing that blew people's minds the most was shaking them out of the idea of a coffee machine being something that makes a drink at a time to, did you know that you can program a button on this machine to make 100 sequential double espressos without supervision, and it will continue dialing it in and can keep the grind right. And you just sort of see their eyes light up and go, oh, and then it's like now you've entered chemical processing. You know, like this is now not a la minute chef artistry. This is now production and like commercial. And then their eyes open and they think of all the possibilities of like pressing a button, saying goodnight to the machine, turning the lights off. You've got a hopper that reaches the roof because you'd need so many beans and a knockbox the size of a 1,000-liter ICB, but it can be done.
This is an interesting segue into kind of that automation space, right? Because I think I was, in preparing for this, I was watching back your La Marzocco out of the box talk from 10 years ago.
2015.
Who would have thought, and
Have your predictions come true?
Well, my favorite part
Possibly
of that,
not.
my favorite
Some of
part
them-
of that is
some of
that
them, yes.
Eversys and La Marzocco IPO'd together.
yeah,
Which
DeLonghi.
which was pretty vindicating, I must admit.
But it is fascinating because now in that time we've had, I think the most notable user of Eversys machines around the world would probably be Blank Street. Blank Street Coffee. So they're based in the US and the UK. And I actually visited one for the first time the other day, and they're extremely popular in the UK, like extremely popular. So many people flock to them. And, I think the problem at those stores, like if you're to nitpick them, it's quite a good experience if you go. But I guess the weakness is actually kind of like the human side. Like the coffee's always consistent. There's not really much wrong with that. They implement best practice with their machinery. It's like, but then the server is kind of like what you can actually grade as being variable, right?
Yep.
Like, and so
Are they using manually steamed milk?
no, they've got
the
Uber Milks,
Eversys heats it,
and
but then
they've been some of the first implementers of the Uber Milk Plus, which is a really, I think, a bit of a game-changing machine. We're going to have the first one in Australia at Project Zero Coffee.
So they have Eversys just for shots, but not for the milk.
Yes,
Because Eversys is good with milk.
it can do the milk,
Maybe
but
not fast enough.
but it's definitely quicker to use individual milk steamer at this point. But it's like the coffee's kind of like the consistent and most stable thing there. It's the service and the human element, which is totally understandable.
Yeah.
So,
Well, in the cupping we just did, are they aware that we did the cupping?
well, let's fill them in. We just did a tasting of about 20 different milk coffees and had to guess which one was pre-made, which one was freshly made, and then we picked our favorite ones and ranked them 1 to 4 in each series.
The standout factor with Lloyd Meadows Tortoise Espresso steaming the milk was really, really outstanding foam production. Like absolutely microscopic bubble size. Probably better than I've seen any automated system do.
But he's no novice. He's a don when it comes.
And
to
he's
making
got
coffee.
really nice Schultz milk, and it's non-homogenized. It's everything's sort of ticking the boxes. But have you seen any automated equipment make creamy milk like that?
I think my Uber Milk does on the daily. Like it really is consistent. Like
That
is
good.
it as good?
It's really
like
good.
it's 0.5% less good than Lloyd's.
But I think the important thing is it's not that it's matching one of the world's best baristas. It's that it's better than 98% of the world's baristas
yeah,
every day.
yeah,
Yeah.
and that's the good thing about machinery as well. Like of that standard. But I guess to Jam's question, from 10 years ago, what you kind of hypothesized in that talk, which you should all go watch, what's come true and what's not, and what's kind of surprised
I
you?
rewatched it the other day, and I think I almost completely misremembered what I even talked about. So what I was talking about mainly was that automation would be embraced, which hasn't necessarily happened, to be fair. It has grown, and companies like Eversys blew up since then. So sure, there is a lot more automation happening. There isn't much automation happening in specialty yet. There's Uber Milks. I think Uber Milk was probably the biggest thing.
And puck press.
And puck press. So like I was sort of talking about the fact that I think that the baristas in the cafes will become less skilled, and that a chain, I think I called it Intelli Stump Bottle as my example.
You did.
Yeah. There would be more sort of like head or executive baristas that would be calibrating more machinery and ensuring more coffee was consistent across a group. And then the staff in the venues would be less skilled on maybe the making of the coffee,
But hospitality
but
focus.
more focused on hospitality. And I also proposed that perhaps there would be a split between venues that used that extra. They've got less cogs now. So what are you going to do with that gap? Are you going to just take it as EBITDA, as profit, or are you going to put that back into service and quality of coffee?
Yeah.
And I talked about there might be a balance. Maybe 80% of lattes, 90% of lattes will be just cheaper, and you'll get them at Coles or you'll get them at supermarkets. And maybe there'll be that pointy end of coffee will become more and more competitive and more difficult. But you have to justify the increased price.
I'm pretty sure Kirk hasn't put his price down.
Well, there's an interesting angle to this as well, and I think what may have affected the uptake of cafes embracing more automation is the cost has probably been increased a lot more than we might have predicted. Because you think of like computer chips, for example, the cost of those has skyrocketed exponentially because there were shortages of chips for like cars and things like that recently, and then you think of like critical minerals that are used to perhaps make some of these. The value's gone up so high, and then
and green coffee costs.
Green coffee costs as well. So like maybe what's probably inhibited uptake is probably the exponential cost increase. A grind by weight grinder in Australian dollars now is like 7,000 Australian dollars.
But did the grind by weight grinders completely take the market by storm immediately as soon as they came out? Pretty much, like it's the default grinder overnight.
I'm not.
I would say yes.
Yeah. Well, like I guess the uptake of those is huge.
Yep, and that's automation. That's a super automatic machine is not the only automation.
Just proving me wrong so quickly.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
No, I like it, but you are right.
Yeah.
Because every single grinder I've got for espresso purposes is ground by weight.
Like these days, to be pretty blunt about it, many baristas are literally a XY gantry robot that moves a portafilter between 4 benchtop appliances that are calibrated and work well. Like
that's that's not greatly different from a chef that takes.
I'm not saying it's bad.
I'm clipping
puts
this
the garlic.
Yeah, you're sorry guys, but like that's the technology has taken the tamping from you, and then it has taken the weighing of the portafilter from you, and so you can either
the public demand that the barista
can I ask though,
pours the beverage.
You can be butthurt about this, or you can be happy that it's easier.
What barista really misses manually tamping?
Exactly.
Like who wants to hurt their wrist like that? What barista really misses? What was the other one you said? Like weighing coffee
weighing
time,
portafilter
hundreds of times a day.
I look at baristas that are using GBW grinders now, and I'm like, oh my god! Like the number of portafilters that I've teared and weighed over the years, like it's lush, but the romance and the artistry and all that sort of stuff is gone, and you need to reapply those efforts somewhere else instead of just being butthurt about becoming an XY robot along a line of benchtop appliances.
Oh, it's like when sommeliers lost the corkscrew, and that was sad for them because they had a bit of protocol about it and they were quite proud of the way they did.
Yeah,
it.
for sure.
But they got on with it, didn't they?
Yeah.
And we still, if anything, the job role is more popular now.
Yeah,
and more celebrated.
Yeah, because they get to focus on this beautifully long menu of when I open the bottle, it's going to taste as I say it will, and then they get to actually the sommeliers actually get to focus on terroir and where the wine's coming from and why it tastes the way it does, instead of baristas spending all their time futzing around with a bloody tamper or like changing the grind because they open the door and the humidity's fucking whatever. They're faffing about with because coffee is such, the effort is backloaded, whereas with wine the effort is front loaded and then put in a bottle and stored. We're backloaded,
and so we celebrate the sommelier's knowledge of the product, not the beautiful way
ability
they pour
to
it out.
screw a Stelvin lid off a bottle.
And if they spill it,
but I guess the sommelier's skill is knowledge rather than like ability to make something, right?
Yeah.
Like it's memory and associating a taste with
what a segue that could be.
Do it.
The knowledge. The knowledge.
Hold on, we're almost there.
We're celebrating knowledge.
We're almost there. But like I literally could not name one barista that I've worked with, past or present, that would prefer to be manually tamping or prefer to be manually weighing things. And
Oh, well, listen, what about Bronte and Lloyd from earlier?
Well,
because I went and asked them when you guys were setting up for the pod. I went back and said, would you, based on those results, because they both participated in the tasting, aced their tastings and had preferences in each direction, not always for the fresh or for the, for the pre-made. So I said, would you consider it? Because and Bronte was like, oh, yeah, probably for cold drinks. I mean, I've been hassling Lloyd to try and do pre-made, at least for iced lattes. For years, it's a running gag between us.
Yeah.
You know, every time we do a test, if we're testing something for a Barista Hustle, I'm usually saying, oh, well, you should save these espressos and pour milk into them. And he's like, come on. So that might change his mind a little bit. But Bronte made the point, hope she doesn't mind me saying this, she wouldn't want to work in a cafe that was either crushing like 1,500 coffees off one machine. She probably wouldn't apply for a job there, given that she's the owner of one of the best cafes in Australia. But also
doesn't feel right. The vibes aren't right for her.
But doesn't want more automation than she has right now. Like they have a puck press.
But everyone's always said that. You know, sorry, Bronte, but like at any point, everyone's always now it's about right now.
Don't undervalue the like if you were sitting there, your Mazza grinder company, beautiful family owned company, amazing build quality, machines last into generations.
Yeah,
and they're sitting there watching Eversys put grinders inside espresso machines. Do they think, gosh, are we going to be obsolete in 20 years once everyone decides to put grinders in espresso machines and they don't need us to make standalone ones anymore? But there does seem to be a pretty clear directive based on what's happened in the last 20 years to keep grinders separate. That's meaningful to the public, I think.
Yeah, well, I mean,
and actually that's
with home espresso making, like having a separate grinder has always been like, because a lot of us say like it's more valuable to have a good grinder than a good espresso machine. So there's certain scenarios.
The public love seeing coffee get ground. Like,
yeah, and I enjoy the ritual of it as well, and getting to smell it, the look of it, the smell of it, the texture. bit of Austin Powers Gold member to quote you there, but there was something interesting.
Well, your cafe may not have the same smell as another cafe. Like that's not to be underestimated. Just that constant grinding explosion
or sound
of aromatics. You're not going to have that.
Yeah,
there might be a subconscious sound.
You're just going to have the AC.
Before we move on to
you're going to have to inject esters into the AC.
Before we move on to the knowledge part of the segment of the podcast, I wanted to ask Matt, because you had this really interesting quote about baristas being geeky about certain things, and I kind of feel like baristas are less geeky about coffees these days than home baristas are, and which kind of has hurt coffee quality at the cafe level. There's a few reasons for this, and I actually had a really interesting discussion with Lance Hedrick about this a few months ago, is that I think it's hard to make a career out of making coffee, to be frank, because the pay is not that great. You can't, these days you can't start a family and have, buy a house, manage a mortgage, all that off a barista wage. Like you just can't. And so I think in some ways, maybe this automation that we have has inspired baristas slightly less to be better at their jobs. Agree? Disagree?
Yeah, there's definitely like the less artistry, less. I guess you're not going to be looking up to industry professionals who have obviously high levels of skill and wanting to emulate that or like strive towards that. I think we can see where the industry is going right now in terms of what people are interested in, and people are becoming more interested in, as you said, like home baristas are interested in like this gear and the coffee, but people are more interested in where's the coffee from, how does it taste now, rather than, how did he tamp it and what was his distribution, like method with his hands or whatever. So people have we're like, okay, we know how to make coffee now. Let's move on. Let's get interested in something else. And perhaps that means that the making of the coffee is not as romanticized and therefore not as valuable, or
even when it
lower
was
status.
Even when it was peak romance, you could say maybe 2012, 2013, 14, 15.
2010, yeah.
Somewhere around then when the public was discovering flat whites and single origins and geishas. Even at that point, that was not the funnest part of working in a cafe. It was definitely interacting with the customers. If you ask anyone from that period.
Blowing people's minds with good coffee.
Yeah,
But I guess what I'm kind of suggesting is that people can come to work and be a bit more on autopilot these days. And so the need to have all this coffee knowledge isn't quite there. And perhaps there's like that top-down thing where like, companies, if they're in a group per se, they set a recipe and your job's to follow that each day, not really explore. So in a way, maybe we've hurt ourselves there.
Yeah, but we had the Wild West where it was like everyone was doing a new recipe every day and you were dialing in every day. And it was like the reasons that it was so rough and so random was because we didn't have the systems and the tools. Now we've done the systems and the tools and we know that consistency is better than randomness. And you can, if you're consistent between a roastery and a cafe, tell them to do a recipe and the recipe will taste the way that you want it to. So before you were relying on the staff member at the cafe to get it right, now you're relying on them to get your recipe right. So, if you're doing a business and you want consistency and you'd have a command control model or, like you want the venues to be the same as you want, that's just going to be the way it is.
Well, listen, do you remember, I don't know how good you guys are at multitasking, but do you remember when you were absolutely crushing a queue at that time while still trying to maintain conversations with your regulars as they moved past? And every now and then you'd forget a drink, like if you didn't have a chit system, like it was all...
Especially
even before that,
volumetrics,
yeah,
like manually
tills.
stopping shots.
Yeah, even money belts. The coffee and the weighing was almost a distraction from good hospitality.
Yeah.
So if anything, like I would say baristas are just breathing an absolute sigh of relief that they can finally engage without all this distraction happening in front of them.
Sometimes I like to say that throughout the 2010s, the coffee section in a cafe almost became a back of house section.
Yeah.
Whereas previously it was a front of house customer facing section. It became so specialized to get it done right that
don't talk to me.
The people behind the counter had to be head down concentrating.
Scales.
And now with all of this technology, the heads can come back up again. And sure, you're not focused as much on the futzing around with the numbers and the weighing and everything, but that's been relinquished.
Would you say coffee's better now than 10 years ago? Because I wouldn't.
Yeah.
Absolutely, it's better now.
It is.
Come on.
It is better, I think, average.
Miles
But
better.
I think...
Average, yeah.
Absolutely miles better because people learnt to roast. That's the main
And there's
difference.
like cheaper color meters, cheaper TDS meters, like cheaper equipment sometimes.
Vastly more variance in flavor range as well.
But my contention with this is it's better for all those reasons, but I think where it's on aggregate kind of declined is that we purchase lower quality green, particularly in Australia, because the cost has gone up so much. The competition, like I guess the demand to purchase green coffee means like the average, blend now consists of what was seen as lower quality coffee.
Sure.
So like you probably bought, 83/84s for your blend, 10 years ago.
But 10 years ago, if you had
price,
a peanutty 88, that Kenyan peanutty coffee that someone had completely underdeveloped and was turning into an espresso for you, that would taste rank. Now, if it's an 83, but it's really well roasted, probably tastes nicer.
Yeah, but I just feel like, and we always talk about coffee that we had at St. Ali nearly 10 years ago, and I just, I'm sorry, but that was like the golden age of coffee for me. I don't know if I've had better across a year.
Nostalgia.
Yeah, it could be hedonic adaptation. Like I wonder that sometimes, how often I was getting my mind blown. Definitely hedonic adaptation is potentially a culprit there, but I think there is a lot of green that is lower quality at the moment.
Well,
we were lamenting how long it's been since we've had a good Kenyan, but that's widely reported.
Yeah.
Kenya had some bad years there.
Yeah, and same with like natural Ethiopians. I just don't think they're the same anymore.
All the best cafes in town, the best roasters are more than ever passing on that margin to the customers. Like they're passing on that expense. So I don't think we're seeing a great big dip in quality. Even if in the house blend, I think this was already happening 10 years ago, where people realized, oh, look, all customers in Australia want is milk in the drinks.
Yep.
And they can't taste the difference between an 85 and an 83. So let's all get 83s. That's what they were doing when I moved back from England.
Yeah, for
Every
sure.
last one of them.
I would argue, and this could be the segue into education topics, that over COVID, there was a lapse in mentorship and handing down of the knowledge.
How so? What's it like?
I think, I don't know if this was obvious to anyone else who was in the industry before COVID and after COVID, but there was a big shakeup in who was in the coffee industry. Like lots of people left,
Yeah.
lots of people joined. And a lot of the mentorship that was gradually happening, and a lot of the, here, come taste some coffee with me. See this tastes bad. This is good. That's a fault. That's good, whatever.
Yeah.
Did not occur for a few years. And we lost a lot of institutional knowledge, and a lot of mentorship didn't occur.
Yeah.
And there are errors being made across the board in the industry now that we thought was common knowledge not to do back in like 2015 through 20. And it seems like the same mistakes are now being learnt again. And I thought that we would have gotten past that.
Do you think that comes down to losing talent because people can't effectively make a, I guess, financially meaningful career out of coffee?
There's a bit of that. There's a bit of losing people just through attrition. There's also a bit of the industry is growing quickly. It's kind of like if you've got a company that's growing very quickly and you're trying to onboard people, how do you teach them all the company values and the mission and whatnot? You can't really, and you have to face up to some loss of alignment. Could be that kind of effect as well, because specialty is growing.
Well, it's interesting you say this, because I think like you look at, I guess, a company like Starbucks, where their revenue has gone down quite significantly in the last few years, and it's like because of consumer trend. Like it's not for like any particular reason, although there's people boycotting them and stuff like that, which, you know, you can Google that if you want to know more about it. But there's customer thoughts and sentiment has shifted a lot as well, in line with what you're saying.
And
Jeremy?
they've just got so many more competitors.
Well,
China's the perfect example.
Well, yeah, you think about luck in coffee right now and talk about automation in coffee. Like, I think they've taken it to such an extreme where obviously they can scale so quickly. They're opening, I think they've got 40,000 stores now, and something crazy. It could be like 20.
You were talking about that with Hoff on the pod, weren't you?
But they just opened,
That was
I think they open like 3 a day or something, like 3 new shops a day across the world.
That is wild.
It's absolutely insane. And their purchases of commodity grade coffee influence the entire C market. I remember they purchased like $2 billion worth of coffee from Brazil last year in one hit. And then the C price just, that was at $2.40 they looked it in at.
Yeah.
And today, I think I checked this morning, it was $4. So, what they do influences coffee hugely. But I want to go back to your knowledge. So can you continue on that?
This was the segue moment.
Yeah, this is the segue.
Sure.
I tried to get in there 15 minutes ago.
Yeah. I went full Dikembe Mutombo.
Yeah.
I'm glad
Not
we
yet.
did.
What do you want to know? I mean,
well, you said we lost a lot of knowledge during COVID.
yeah, I just feel like there was, the same with the work from home thing in all industries. There's been a severe lack of mentorship, and I know a lot of people have talked about this. I'm not the first one to bring it up, but with work from home comes a lack of face-to-face knowledge sharing, and in the moment, just sort of like bumping elbows, and specifically, I think because coffee is a sensory product, sensorily, you taste it, you smell it. We're missing out on a lot of, hey, you come here, taste this. See, this is what I was talking about, or like learn about this. And with the automation of, or with the introduction of recipes in cafes and more automation in the gear, you have someone from the roastery turning up less because you're probably going to be just like making it to the recipe more often. So there's less interaction between the cafe and the roastery or whatever. So which means there's less of those off the cuff remarks and tastings that used to be happening as we streamline and automate and move along in that direction.
Which means we need a vehicle for understanding.
Well, this is probably a good way for me to reintroduce. We've got Matt Perger and Jeremy Challender here from Barista Hustle. Now, give us the elevator pitch of Barista Hustle, Matt Perger.
I think we're the world's largest online, or anywhere really, maybe coffee knowledge resource.
Absolutely.
1,200 lessons, tens or hundreds of thousands of students.
20 certifications.
20 different certifications. How many courses?
20. And
yeah, that's right. All the certification is a course, yeah.
And a network of coaches that can give you a practical certification.
Yeah, around the world. It was our 10th birthday back in June.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. And we also do tools. We're just happy to be here.
Introduced the auto comb at the World Barista Championship a few years back, and that's made its way onto a lot of bars.
Yeah. Jack Simpson was actually, in the room with Anthony, he was his coach back when I was introducing them to the autocomb, and Anthony was helping me develop it, and we were figuring out how to get it on stage with him at the WBC. Jack was there.
Well, I can also name another landmark moment. You and I were sitting next to each other at the Australian Barista Championship, and you said to me at the time, you looked at what he was doing. You said, "Is he combing his espresso? I think I can make that easier." Then you went home and made it and designed it that afternoon. I'm pretty sure.
I mean, it had already been a 3-year process up to that point of finding out things what not to do. But yes.
But I remember you saying that, and then like literally you had a prototype a week or two later.
Yeah, I think it was in my mind was, I'm at the stage where I might be able to make one, for him for the WBC.
Ended up being a good move for you.
It was a great move.
Yeah.
Yep.
So with barista, like because I got my start as a barista off Barista Hustle because I was struggling my first few shifts when I was learning to make coffee. So customers would walk in, see me, think, screw that, and walk out.
Damn.
And it was pretty shit.
Sucks to suck.
And so I asked one of my coworkers, I was like, what do I do to get better? Like, is there any online resources? And they said, try Barista Hustle. And so I did, and that's kind of where I was introduced to who you are. And then not long after, I started working at Santa Lee. We became friends. But Barista Hustle is an excellent resource for a lot of different things. And
thank you.
You've got you've got kind of like a pay by the month subscription model, right?
Yeah, we do. You can do yearly or pay by the month, and you get access to all the courses, all the certifications. Subscribe for as long as you want to, and then if you want to leave, you can. Or we're always releasing more lessons, interviews, content, certifications. So stick around and keep doing more.
And where to from here? Because us three have kind of discussed how like people are getting around the ways to sort of pass the tests and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Because perhaps their boss is telling them to or whatever. So we've been talking privately about improvements or evolutions to the system. Do you guys want to tell us a bit more about that?
Well, for sure. There is some work to be done on either proctoring or making our certifications more valid, much harder to cheat using AI tools and integrated web browsers powered by AI. You could, if you have an online testing system, there's a certain amount of trust involved.
Fraud.
Historically, it's a bit like playing online chess. You could cheat on online chess with a computer as long as 10 years ago. Who can this be? Brains trust.
Is it Lloyd Meadows?
AI.
Is it?
No.
Oh. Yeah, go on.
Excuse me. So we're developing a way of testing barista knowledge that's going to be entirely AI proof. So you can't just copy and paste multiple choice answers into Gemini or ChatGPT and get an answer. And it's going to have to go beyond just picture recognition, because if you test that out, it seems like, if for example you showed Gemini a picture of a shot channeling.
You did, didn't you?
Yeah, and a normal one. It knows straight away which is the channeled shot. So you can't just do picture recognition, like which
capture.
Nominate the buses in this capture. Yeah. That stuff's absolutely useless now. Yeah. So AI proofing is...
every university is staring down the barrel at this too.
Yeah. It's tending towards video testing.
So a testee will log on, do the test, and it'll be done by a webcam sort of thing?
It'll be oral. So they'll be looking at a webcam, essentially answering questions. And we have various ideas and methods on how to make sure that they're not cheating while they're doing that, which we may or may not disclose. We're figuring out what we will, talk about. But the idea is that an oral exam is what you would do to defend a thesis at university. It's what you would do when you get your when you become a GP in Australia. They actually have, you walk into the exam room and there's an actor pretending to be your patient, and then there's the admin or the proctor or whatever it's called in the room as well, watching that happen. And that's a very rigorous way of doing it. Now, obviously, for a coffee exam, the CSAT, as we're calling it, as the code word.
I love that name.
Yeah, it's a good one. We don't really have we can't afford, someone in the room for every single person to get are you a good barista certificate?
And the appetite might not be there, especially for home baristas.
And it's not
if they're
scalable.
Applying for jobs.
Yeah, it's not as accessible. It's not as scalable. So we're working on ways to make it essentially like a web.
And why are you doing
experience.
that? Like, because you want to have more integrity in the tests? Like,
So,
you want to be trusted?
Let's talk about the Q grade for a second. The Q grader has always been the aspirational coffee professional certification. It's always been and there's 10,000 certificates now, I think, was the number? 16,000. Yeah. So there's a lot of coffee professionals who thought that is a certification that I want to get and it's going to help me in my career, and studying for it is going to help me become a better taster, and getting it is going to help my career. We do not have another certification in the coffee industry that a cafe employer will look at your CV and say, yes, you have the CSAT. I'm going to put you at the top of the list to hire you. Now, obviously, we have the SCA barista courses. We have the Barista Hustle courses. But I don't know, I haven't heard of anyone who is actually using them as their primary filtering for, does this human know about coffee?
Just quickly on the Q grader thing, they just really swept,
They
pulled the rug out under that one. That's gone now. 16,000 people. Woohoo!
Yeah, there's some opinions about that.
Yeah.
I don't really have strong opinions, but it's a thing.
Yeah.
It sure is
That happened.
It happened.
And that was the gold standard for credibility.
It was.
For tasting.
And it was really shocking.
Especially in the eyes of baristas. That was the one, if you became a barista, looked around and thought, I'd like to prove my credibility. 10 years ago, you would do the Q grader even if you had no intention of being a green coffee person.
Yeah.
Just to prove that you were a bouse.
Yeah. But I guess, heading back towards kind of coffee certification and its values, I guess there's a huge lack of credible coffee training out there. And I see it we see it all the time in Melbourne, where someone moves here because they have kind of these ideas of, learning how to make coffee here, and they think, I'll go do a coffee course. They go to some registered trainer, but they get this absolutely worthless certification thinking it will get them a job. It's quite sad, and in some ways quite predatory by those teaching organizations, because let's face it, they're not doing good effective training.
If you can get the barista skills professional qualification from the SCA, that's a good qualification. You've proven your worth to someone. They'd hire you on that basis, and fair dues. But it costs a lot of coin and a lot of time, a lot of air miles. So we think with the CSAT we can give a very watertight means of demonstrating online, that's our main objective, an online test with very few barriers to entry, that's really cheap to do, that is absolutely certified proof that you know what you're talking about.
And you'll apply this level of testing to all 1,200 lessons or whatever it is?
No, I think we're going to start off with just the first one, which is similar to our most popular course, Barista 1. It's the, making coffee in a cafe setting course. We want to have my sort of mental model for this first certification is, should I hire this barista to be a barista? That's what we essentially want to find out with this certification. And then later we'll move into, does this person know about roasting? Does this person know about green coffee and cupping and buying and all that sort of, there are various different things that we can do. But, and perhaps there will be some grand across industry ultimate test, that is puts the fear, in anyone who wants to attempt it, but that's probably a later endeavor.
I'm having a few thoughts here, because one of the problems with the barista profession, and let's just apply this to Australia for now, in my own little cosmos, there's a skills shortage. So there's not enough baristas who have the level of skills to sort of participate in the job. And one of the kind of ironies of that is once you've got those skills, they're not really super highly valued. A lot of people just work for the minimum wage. despite there being skills. But one of the problems of the industry is that we have these cafes, for example. They say, I want someone with 2 years experience. Well, there's not enough of those 2 years experience people. And so we need to actually come up with a more effective and better way of giving someone an opportunity to start their coffee career in a cafe. Do you think you can get it to that sort of point?
I mean, yeah, I can't give someone 2 years of experience with an online certification. This is more like proving that you know, even maybe if you just started 6 months ago, but you did do a lot of study, that maybe those 6 months shouldn't be discounted.
But we can pack 2 years of learning through word of mouth, like the knowledge system that used to be in place. We can condense that into just a few months of intensive study. If you did all our courses, you'd have more knowledge than either of us would have 10 years ago easily.
But I suppose, like, let's imagine this scenario, right? There's a barista with 2 years of experience and they're having to train someone it's their first day on the job. But that person whose first day on the job has done all these barista courses through Barista Hustle. But that guy with 2 years experience is having trouble dialing in an espresso. While this newbie might not have the experience with the touch and feel of the espresso machine, they might be able to give them a pointer on, hey, you can do this to make your espresso taste better.
Yeah.
Like, that's entirely possible.
Yeah, absolutely. I would have loved to have had Barista 1 as a course before I started making coffee. But this is why we also have a network of in-person coaches around the world, is because there are just some things that you can't do online. And no matter how many books you read, you need to taste some coffee and you need to walk into a school and actually taste something. You know, we have ideas for the speed running someone from zero to being an effective barista that might be more effectively taught offline rather than online. You know, we're an entirely online school mostly, and then we have these physical Barista Hustle certified sort of coaches around the world. We can only do the online theory stuff. You know, that is the limit of what we can do on the internet, and then there needs to be something else in person.
Yeah, well, it's good to have this knowledge base, and like I need to start doing more of the courses myself because I'm sure there's something even I can pick up. But like you're saying that you've got, have you got one in Australia, a coach that does this training?
Who's in Australia?
Yeah, we have one in Bendigo.
Yeah, right.
We also have Toby Smith.
Toby Smith.
The
Toby
Is
Smith.
it Toby Estate, Toby Smith? Yeah, right.
Founding father of Australian specialty coffee.
So he's teaching people how to make coffee these days.
Yeah, up in Bellingham.
He's a BH coach.
Yeah, right.
And he has a roastery.
Is it still Toby's
He's a partner
Estate?
in a roaster.
Oh, different one.
It's
Definitely
Toby and what's her name? He's got a partner, and they teamed up on a small
So if you're doing all these courses and stuff like that and creating all this content, what like some of the trends you're picking up and where like are the biggest gaps of knowledge in the coffee industry?
Where are the biggest gaps?
Yeah, like what do you think people are most deficient in?
Do you mean like in a new, just into the job barista?
No, just across. Like, I would like to know of experienced baristas, experienced coffee professionals. Where do you think people think they have the most knowledge, but they probably don't?
There's an extreme disinterest in history, that's for sure.
Yeah,
I've actually my daughter's year 11, 12. They're not offering history at the local high school because there's just not enough people interested in doing it.
that's crazy.
That bothers me because
that's weird.
I'm right into my espresso machine history.
As I age, I tend to appreciate history a lot more.
Yeah.
But you're talking about coffee history?
Yeah. We have a course called the Espresso Machine, which is all about Pavoni and Moriondo and Gaggia. That is the air I breathe, that stuff.
Sounds like a very Lance Hedrick topic too. He's
Yeah.
into his old school.
Yeah, he's
espresso
a
machine.
collector, isn't he? That's a really important subject.
Why do you think that's important?
Well, because it shows for people that are electing not to go with pre-made espresso, for example, it gives you a multitude of reasons why you wouldn't. Like why single service made for you and in the moment. Like I'm trying to remember that. Seth Godin, is that his name? The influencer?
Marketer, yeah.
He did this really nice blog post a few years back about toast. Just like, what's great about toast? Like no one buys pre-made toast. It just doesn't exist as a thing because its expiry is
30 seconds.
just a few minutes, right? So he was trying to say, maybe the general message was if you have something that is that precious and doesn't last
Ephemeral.
for that long, then you should nurture it and let people know how special it is, or that they're just gonna know how special it is because that flavor cannot be replicated in any other way through any means. You can possibly automate the production of toast, but anyway, it means something to the customer because they know it was intended for no one else in the cafe except them. And you see that if you study espresso history, you can see that evolution, like when people got excited about crema and crema, when it sort of first appeared with the Gaggia lever machine and was persistent for the first time, even though the earlier machines would have had some sort of foam on them, wouldn't have stuck around for a couple of minutes. And suddenly it created a desire to have a potent small espresso that had a very limited amount of expiry time. And we didn't probably emphasize enough that the whole pre-made discussion only applies to milk drinks. It absolutely doesn't apply to espresso.
Absolutely.
Or filter coffee or Americanos.
I have a different answer to this question.
Go on.
Which is, again, back to the knowledge being passed down. I'm still being served coffees in cafes that should not be served in terms of like a batch brew that's been sitting in a pot for way too long and nobody identifies that that's not tasting great. I am being served batch brews where I know that if I pulled the basket out and wiped my finger along the bottom, it would come out black.
Yeah.
Press pots that I know have never been thoroughly cleaned, just like general hygiene things. I think lots of people don't even know what staling coffee tastes like. And when they then taste something that's been stale, I would say mostly by oxygen staling, they don't identify that that's stale. There's just a lot of missing tasting something and being told this isn't as good as it should be or could be. Lots of like really just savory under roasted coffee still being served. Lots of like we've definitely avoided the over roasting now. Well done, everyone. We managed to stop like burning everything, but there's like still a chronic amount of under roasted coffee out there in specialty, and people are just kind of chill about it. And sure,
It's improving.
I'm being a bit of a curmudgeon because it's like, sure, if you like it, then you're allowed to like it and that's fine. But I just feel like there's such a wasted opportunity with a lot of coffees that is just being thrown out. It's
interesting you say this because, and particularly on roasting, I've recently been helping prepare one of my stuff for the Brewers Cup competition here in Australia, and I've been roasting for him on just a little Link air roaster. And something I've learned is that good brewing cannot outdo bad roasting. Good brewing cannot fix bad roasting because it's just impossible. Like
good roasting cannot fix bad green.
That's 100%. Like there's so many things you have to get right in the coffee supply chain, but good brewing cannot fix bad roasting. It's just like roasting is so important, and there's a select few that are really, I guess, savants in the industry. Obviously, Scott Rao is one of those people that I've never had a bad coffee from him. He's just so good. I think like Matt Crowley at Axel, Sam Cora at Honor Coffee. He's probably one of the best roasters ever. And look, the list there's quite a few good ones, but even though I just said there's a select few, but like, I just think that's probably one of the I guess things that I don't think people understand enough is the importance of roasting.
Do you know? I feel like there's a way of tying this into a bow, which we probably should at some point soon. You look at Hide's beautiful cocoon concept, this brew bar, right? And the news when we interviewed him a couple of months ago, the big headline there was that he's going through the process of jumping through hoops, whatever hoops are needed to be jumped through, to get reviewed by the Michelin Guide for a Michelin star, for a coffee location, world's first Michelin-starred coffee destination. And, with your interest in extreme speed with quality, which I think you could say that's true of some prominent fast food burger chains. They're not disinterested in quality or cleanliness, but they're mainly interested in extreme speed. So I feel like the coffee industry is getting possibly stratified into a very similar pattern as the restaurant world. Do you know what I mean? So we've got quality-focused fast food coffee places. We've got Michelin-starred, potentially Michelin-starred concept shops. And then you're seeing independents like Tortoise probably trending up towards special, potentially Michelin-starable, maybe not 3 Michelin star, which is what Hide would deserve. But you're going to see these sort of destination cafes in each town that are extremely focused on not having dirty brew baskets. You're going to see the ones that might just be happy being a greasy spoon, pumping it out, 83s. And then you're going to see chains which have enough infrastructure or automation to keep the quality going, but focus on the speed, which means the hospitality is potentially less, but the quality is going to be there.
Cleanliness is one of the most underrated things in a bar or cafe. Like, keeping your area clean is one of the easiest hacks to keeping your coffee tasting good. So I would 100% agree with you there. Like that. And you taught me one of the best ways to clean a batch brew pot, which I will tell everyone listening right now.
Please, Kirk.
If you
preach.
To
If
clean
there's one takeaway
to
from
clean
this
your
podcast.
batch brew pot properly, you need to fill that sucker with water, put some Cafetto and or nearest cleaning chemical in there, Ernex, whatever you prefer. Put the steam wand in that sucker from the coffee machine and turn it on until it's squealing Dementor style from Harry Potter.
Correct.
Like, you need to that is the best and most effective way, and then purge it back through the rod.
Yeah,
So you clean.
if you have a press pot, and you shouldn't just throw it out, but if you do, pass all that water through.
So you're cleaning the rod as well. Clean your press pots, guys. Please,
Thank you.
do it.
If nothing else.
Yeah, and soak them from time to time as well. But that is one of the easiest and most effective ways to make your batch brew taste good.
Here.
I got to shout out some sponsors, by the way. We've been talking big on automation, so I got to shout out Barista Group, one of the new sponsors coming on board. So Joe Trelube up in Sydney, but they're importing Uber Milk Plus. They're the main importer, the exclusive importer for Makiba Izaga grind by weight coffee grinder. So they're pretty good. You've seen them, you know what they are. So you just plug the thing in, you put your handle in, it has a pre-made dose. Just straight in there. It's excellent. So Barista Group, if you've got a cafe in Australia, call Joe. They'll sort you out. Also, I got Oatly, another sponsor. So one of the best oat milks on the planet. So
Very good.
They're supporting the podcast. Thank you. And thank you to them. And then, of course, Time More. We all love Time More. So if you need a kettle, hand grinder, they got great
Electric
hand grinders,
grinder.
electric grinder, many other tools. You can go to timemore.com, visit your local distributor near you. So they're all the sponsors of the coffee show.
Maybe we should sponsor Kirk's podcast.
Well, he actually is a member of my VIP membership club.
Okay.
So he has the opportunity to do 20 certifications.
All right.
So I think we're already a sponsor.
Well, if you need some online education, go to baristahustle.com, because there is actually a organizational one where
As a business,
so we can sign up as a business to Barista Hustle and give it to our 20 staff.
Big Black Friday sale coming up.
Big Black Friday sale coming up.
Of
So,
epic
and I'll probably
proportions.
get this released. Today's Friday here, so I'll probably get this released on Monday. I want to get this one out quick.
incredible.
Big Black Friday sale coming up. So get onto Barista Hustle for all your online educational needs. What's one thing you want to sign off on, each of you guys? What are you going to lead the listener with? Starting with Jeremy Challender.
Well, if you do pre-made, I'd like you to be mindful of one thing that we were discussing earlier, is that there used to be a lot of smoke and mirrors in the pre-third wave, where you'd see great big high espresso machines, cups piled even higher, and you wouldn't notice what hocus pocus was going on behind. So I think if you go the pre-made path, do it proudly. Don't try and maintain any illusions. It's there. There's merit to it. We're all pretty much ready to say, Matt can tell the difference. I'm not sure if I can tell the difference. And your preference pretty much through the whole blind tasting was for the pre-made, right? So it's extremely valid approach. So explore it. It's nothing to be ashamed of.
Give it a go. Tag the Coffee Show with Kirk Pearson on Instagram, coffeeshow.com, and Barista Hustle if you're doing it at your cafe, at home, whatever. If you want to experiment with it, please do it and make some content. Tag us, please. Yeah. And let us know in the comments what you think. Matt, what do you want to sign off with?
If you haven't played around with Apex, I think you probably should. I think like there was Lotus originally from Lance. But I think in terms of just usability and trying it out and making your coffee taste better, I don't think there's a more important product in the last 5 years.
Whew,
Yeah,
all right.
I think it's like in my mind numero uno for improving cups of coffee for everyone.
So, give us an example of your use where you made a wonderfully better coffee.
All the time, like every day. It almost never fails to make a cup of coffee taste better.
Well, I can attest to that. We sell it at our shop. We're one of the stockists in Melbourne, Australia, and I use the minerals all the time. So, yeah,
I think
absolutely.
the big unlock for everyone was, we can do this after we brewed the coffee. We don't have to do the water chemistry beforehand. It's the mindset shift to it's seasoning rather than it's a solvent has just completely unlocked some crazy stuff. And I don't think we've even really scratched the surface.
And he's really done a lot for the industry there, hasn't he? Like Simon, that is who created it, like just done so much for educating the industry on the impact of water. Some other good contributors to that space are Christopher Hendon and Maxwell Colonna Dashwood.
New book coming out soon, if it isn't already out. Yep.
Plenty of plugs in this section of the podcast.
Yeah, plugs.
I think you're absolutely right. It's been a big contribution, and you can really do a lot to enhance your cups of coffee with Apex Labs. So reach coffee climax, everyone. It's a pretty, it's a pretty good slogan, isn't it?
To the boundaries of coffee climax.
To the boundaries of coffee climax. Pardon me. But anyway, look, thanks so much for what's been a fantastic day. We drove an hour and a half out here, Matt Perger and I, and to meet you, Jem. And it's been a wonderful little day in your hometown of Castlemaine. And thanks to whoever lent us this music recording studio that we're in. But I've had a fantastic day. I learned a lot about concentrated coffee or pre-made espresso. I do it all the time as well. So yeah, thanks for a fantastic day. Thanks for a fantastic podcast. And I look forward to getting this out to the good listeners of the Coffee Show with Kirk Pearson and the viewers of Barista Hustle. So,
thanks, Kirk.
Thanks again.
Thanks,
all right, we're going to sign off there, pack up and go home, everyone. So,
let's jam.
Say hooroo. Say hooroo. In Boss Nass style. In Boss Nass. Come on, do it.
In Boss Nass
or
style.
Just do what you're about to do. Come on, go.
Hooroo. No, in Boss Nass.
Be gone!